All right. Kindly give me a minute to pull up the screen. In the meantime, just quickly going over today's agenda. The topic, as it goes by the title, Everything About Practice Management. This is a topic that everyone from, I think, the start of their practice, while they are experienced, whether they are brand new entrepreneur or super experienced, into their several areas, years of practice, areas of practice, still, this is one topic that everyone finds it new and helpful and informative because they would get to refresh on a few things like what are their professional obligations, especially considering some of them in terms of client intake, service communication, in terms of matter management, in terms of accounting and fee and billing. There's several areas where, as a legal practitioner, one needs to focus on. And this is a topic specifically that is really helpful for people to, practice without any worry. According to me, this is something that even if you're a new entrepreneur or, like I said, if you're into several years of practice with experience, still, this helps you to understand what you need to be on top of. Similarly, these professional obligations, on the other hand, are laid out by law society, your respective law societies. The client intake, file management, financial management, business management, professional management, time management, so many things that it helps you to be on top of it in terms of the compliances, especially when it comes to client intake, service communication. I would highly focus on the first 4 points that you can see here. Client intake, file management, financial management, and business management, which obviously includes office expenses and timekeeping, record keeping, accounting, compliances, and a whole bunch of it. And of course, I believe that while you are on top of these professional obligations, the top 4, you would be able to fulfill your personal management, professional management, your time management in terms of work-life balance and, understanding if your required hours of CPD credits are being completed as part of the professional management and more of that sort. So as mentioned, I would highly focus on the first 4 points, which is client intake, service communication, file management, financial management, and business management. Professional obligations when it comes to client intake, service communication is very diverse, as there are different types of client intake, different forms, different methods, different approaches that each and every legal practitioner would like to use. Some based on their resources, some based on their clients' availability or likes, dislikes, comfort. There's so much more, so many of these factors that contributes to deciding what is the type of client intake that one is going to finalize. Some people are used to having multiple types of client intake so that they can offer their client all of it and they can choose from it. Some people do paper pen, some people do electronic form, some people do where they would just come click on a link or scan a QR code and do it themselves. Some people would come into your office, use paper pen, fill out the form, and then you would type in old school method, but still works for many of you. So it doesn't really matter which of the method is it that you're adopting, but what really matters is the details that are being provided by your client or being collected by you. The initial calls, the consultations are being recorded, are being noted down under the respective consultations, notes, and subsequently forming the retainer letters, what goes into the retainer letters, what needs to be changed or what needs to be addressed. Quickly doing the conflict check one step ahead. So the moment you would intake a client, first thing that would go into your mind is to do the conflict check. I think conflict check would arrive, you'd be able to arrive at a point where you have to move further or not. And once you've decided to take upon this client, this file, you would move on to the next step as to opening a file or a matter. And that's when several things comes into picture as to the retainer agreements, the retainer receipts, the engagement letter, the checklist, and then the matter titles, the unique file numbers, the area of mentioning their area of practices, and then mentioning different parties in the file, within the file itself, like whether they're a joint retainer, whether there's an opposing counsel, details of the plaintiff, different. There's so many of these that you would need to enter in there. Like, I think many times people, what they really miss out on is understanding that not all of these information are mandated by law society, but some of them are, yes, the basic information like the conflict check, and then the fee book, the source of contact. How did you find the client, and also a few more things that needs your attention in terms of capturing the client information. Well, if all of these are not coming together for some reason, there's a certain period where the client has not reached back to you or has not gotten back to you. There are only two things that you could do. There's one, you are going to classify them as a ghost client, and two, you're going to send them a non-engagement letter so that you are not responsible for anything further in this matter or in regards to this matter. I just feel that many times we are so caught up with doing the intake, completing the process, opening the file, moving on to billing the clients, and then collecting the funds into trust, moving the funds from trust to the general, assigning the dockets, disbursements, invoices, a whole bunch of things that goes behind the scenes of collecting that money from trust to the general. But in this process, there comes into picture several documents, several paperwork that needs to be adhered, not just for your legal work purpose, but the admin work purpose too. So if you are someone who's struggling to keep up with this, it's important that you learn to use the software to the maximum, where you would just have to enter the details, then print the documents, keep them in your folder, or even better, keep them in your Google Drive or OneDrive. Connect your drives to the program, respective matters, have them in, and it's like the best thing that you could do. On the same lines, once the client intake has been done, where you've captured all the details of the client, whether through the client portal or through the intake form, and completed the conflict check, and then opened a file with the retainer letter, and you've proceeded. Now, when they're proceeded to servicing the client, when there is a time where you are looking to collect the retainer, that's when the retainer agreement comes into picture. Now, this retainer agreement is definitely the binding paper, or rather, something that really binds the entire force together between you and your client in terms of, the responsibilities, the scope of the matter, like what are the risks associated, how do you like to do the retainer arrangements? Are you looking to get it upfront? Are you looking to get them in the installments? Are you looking to get them one time? There's several things that you could have to schedule and present in this particular letter, while, of course, letting them know the termination clauses as well is important, because what if they don't want to proceed further? So you should be able to disclose as much of information as possible. That's what Law Society says. But at the same time, you don't want to bore your client with several of these points. So that's when uLaw said, okay, you know what? We can do your retainer letter in Crocs, and there are 2-3 different formats. You have a flat rate, you have a billable time, you have a combination. You can just download the respective ones. The minimum guarantee of these points are covered in there. They look exhaustive, but at the same time, they are all 2 lines, 3 lines, readable, so that your client doesn't get bored. And in the same, you have the link where they can pay you. Well, win-win, because you get the document printed out, it looks professional, you're able to share it with the client, they're able to make the payment right from there by accessing the link if you have the payment integration. Well, it's also one step ahead when you're going to be able to save that into your records as the amount has been paid. So, simultaneously, you're doing multiple things of servicing your client, collecting the payment, and even record keeping it by entering them into the books. Because you have the payment integration, things are simpler, everything in the format of link, electronic, then you're able to save more of your time. So once the retainer has been collected, one thing that I would highly recommend, and that Law Society also recommends, is to, give the receipt to the client upon collecting the retainer. It's specifically called as retainer receipt. Once the retainer has been collected, the retainer receipt is issued and the file has been opened. Well, each file has its own unique number, should have its own unique reference number, chronologically secured, and all of your client's personal details recorded in there. All the interactions are recorded in the form of dockets. Even if the same client has 2 matters, you would still create, even if the same client comes back with few different things, you would still create the respective matter, and you would have its own file number, and you're able to secure all of the files and information in there. Once you have it, then you have the personal recording of all of the client interactions. And you're able to also raise the dockets, convert it into the invoice, get yourself paid, and, transfer the money, do the Form 9As if you're in Ontario, and a whole bunch of these chronological, activities, or the sequence in which these happen, are recorded and filed into the respective matters. Well, once there is trust account into the picture, I know many of you here have trust account. The very big thing that keeps running in our mind is to make sure that the balances for each of the client matches with that of your books. That is why Law Society has the mandate saying every month you would need to reconcile the end of previous month with before 25th of the month. So you want to make sure you have proper fee scheduled, invoices raised, transmitted, delivered to the client properly within the specified time, not after removing funds, but the invoices are to be provided to the client or delivered to the client prior to the time funds has been done. Number one thing to note is that you would raise an invoice showing that the invoice has the amount lying in the trust, and this was the work done for these many hours or this flat rate. And once the invoice has been completed, it is provided to the client, and you're able to transfer the funds from trust to the general. Similarly, at the time where you have the systematic tracking of overpayments, there's an instance where you have missed to track down either the, let's say, maybe the trust transfer, and you assume that you've done it in the bank, but you've missed to do it in the accounts, in the books. So sometimes this leads to overpayments on the accounts where you've mistakenly made another transfer or overdrawn or anything of that sort. So in order to avoid these, real-time data entry is highly recommended into the respective books of accounts. All the receipts where retainers or client payments, disbursements, legal fees, recorded invoices done, you're having your original bank statements in place, all the checks, any canceled checks, duplicates, deposit slips, all of them maintained in the books. And that would ideally help you to then complete your income expense statement, your P&L, your trial balances, your ledgers, journals, what you record as information on the front end. While you are only seeing invoices, you are only seeing the receipts, you're only seeing a few of the things that you're entering in. However, on the other side of it, the back end, you're able to pull out completed ledgers, completed journals, completed fee books, completed expense book. When I mean completed, you could still download these documents. They would come incomplete. They would not carry the information that is needed. So in order to ensure that all of it has been recorded, you would want to make sure that you have all the records maintained and entered, and all the financial statements, income expense statement, everything to be downloaded every now and then to ensure all the details are entered in there. Well, most of these ledgers and journals are highly recommended for you to collect the information, and these of the reconciliation helpful for you to complete the monthly trust comparisons and reconciliations. And on the other hand, ensure that you are on top of your books, helps you to keep yourself secure, your data, and make sure that you're able to access your data from anywhere, like that includes from anywhere remotely. And again, you're able to have your regular backup, and you're able to efficiently use the software. When it comes to the professional obligations, I think most of you are on top of it, else you wouldn't be sitting here attending your CPD hours. So top of your obligations to maintain your membership fees, you're able to keep up with your hours, you're able to review your new legislations and case laws. On the other hand, as I mentioned, someone who is able to dedicate and maintain their client intake service communication with matter management and financial management, well, the other part of it with the time management, personal management, and business management is as simple as following the instructions from the Law Society, making sure that you're maintaining all your to-do lists, you're having your active files, you're having your time dockets. Even if it's non-billable hours, you want to make sure to keep up with your pro bono hours details and all. Personal management is something that Law Society also highly recommends you to complete. Keep a check on. Some people, yes, are busy servicing their clients, but more busy maintaining the records, maintaining with the paperwork, admin work. And I think one of the important things why I always recommend people to keep up with their softwares, to keep constantly exploring various features. Don't stop with the comfortable ones. Don't stop with the first 4 or 5 things that you've learned. Keep exploring, keep questioning us, keep coming up with more features that you would request, you would like to explore within the software and see what helps you save time, your cost, the money, because I feel that every time someone writes a check, you could actually print a check from the program. That would be more accurate data-wise. It would save you time. It looks more professional. So there are some small things like that, like including Bank Connect that would help you to pull up the expense and save it. Some of them that really helps you to, do multiple things, but within the time frame. Well, all of these definitely are possible with the practice management, the right tool that is in your hand. You're able to save money, you're able to save time, you're able to practice from anywhere, you're able to keep up with your compliance. More efficient, definitely, because you are someone who is able to save the cost, be at it more, and still, you know, maximize the efficiency with all the features. Quickly jumping into uLawPractice to show you all how this works in real life, how this really helps many of you with using the practice management. If you are a uLaw user and you're benefiting, great. If you're someone who are not using all of these features, please stay back to learn more about these features that would help you save time and still keep up with the compliance. And for the ones who probably joined a little later into the session, this session is being recorded, so please do not worry in case you've missed your first few minutes. We would be sharing the video on our YouTube platform probably by Monday or Tuesday next week. And for the ones who have been with us from the beginning, please make sure to stay back till the end to provide your attendance once the link has been provided, so that in case needed, we would be able to refer to it.